This is Irontrader, and this is Midday Trading. Well, since today is crude oil day, we're going to take a look here at crude oil, natural gas, the big oil ETF, XLE, gasoline ETF, UGA, and then CRK, Comstock Resources. This video is for information purposes only, not a recommendation to buy, selling stock market ETF. Please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Here we have crude oil, your daily and your weekly chart. Now, the EIA report came out today, and you had nice, good draws right across the board in everything, in gasoline, in crude oil, distillates, even in Cushing. So, looking pretty good. Now, going into Labor Day weekend, I'm expecting draws this week and draws next week, and then we got to see what happens after the holiday when kids are back to school and all this kind of stuff and things settle down. We got to see how that's all going to shake out. Right now, also, we're all in the midst of that hurricane season. So, again, we have to see how that shakes out. Now, what we had here today so far, it came down, put in a lower low, but you notice that it's holding that 8-day here so far. That's very, very key. So, on the downside, this is what we want to watch is 63.31. Then we'll look at today's low at 62.95. And then we'll come to the bottom of this candle at 62.52. Then we'll come to the bottom at 61.83. And then we have your retest at 61.45 level. Okay. Now, on the upside, we want to watch today's high, 64.02. But this here is going to be the key, 64.22. And then next in line, we had that 64.44 level. Then we come to the top of this candle. You're looking at 65.10. Then we go to 66.10, 67.41. And then we have your big retest there at 70.51. But now you can see how this 8-day is rolling over. See how the 21 days roll over. If that crosses over that 100-day and that 8-day, this is going to come flying down pretty hard. Now, here we have the weekly chart. So you always want to take a look at the weekly, and a lot of times you want to take a look at the monthly, okay? So right here, we have this 55.12. That's a big retest all the way on the bottom. Now, if we just bring those price channels across, you can see here that we can come all the way down to this 33.64 level. Now, and I'm not saying that's where it's going to go, but again, look at this chart. See how this is descending? High, lower high, lower high, lower high. See that? That's descending all the way on down. And again, we crack that 55.12 level, she's going to send her down pretty hard. Now, again, we have a lot here to do. You have to hold the 8-day and then that 61.45. I'm not expecting that in this time frame, but we're going to see what's going to happen in towards the end of the year kind of a situation. Now, you look at the RSI. Well, you're sitting at 45. That's overbought or oversold. Same way with the MACD here. But again, I never like that when you have that descending, that series of lower highs and lower lows. That's really never good. So always punch up the weekly. But I always look at this. See this big target that you have all the way down here at that 33.64. Okay, so always keep that in mind. But right now, what we're just watching is that 8-day, 63.32 on a closing basis. And then on the upside, you need to close above that 100-day and that 21-day if you can. Then we can just rally right on up until we hit all these key levels. But again, right now, we just have this sideways action. But again, the 8-day now is, it was curling up nice, and now it's flattened out. But just watch that 21-day. You can see how strong it is, okay, on the resistant level, right into it, and then boom, all the way down. So just be a little bit patient, but you're going to need a catalyst to take this higher. But remember, this market is absolutely filled with crude. You got to figure the EU came out and said, yeah, you got a glut going on. Saudi Arabia is going to even add more here now in come September. I think it's 541,000 barrels per day they're going to dump on the market. And all the volunteer cuts are off the table. So again, they want market share. Saudi Arabia wants market share, not really concerned with the price as of today. All right, let's take a look here now at natural gas. Okay, here we have natural gas. Now, natural gas finally getting off the old schneid. Okay, so we had this nice big downtrend. First of all, we had this uptrend going, and then we put that topping tail. See that topping tail? And then she came right on down to hold that 8-day was holding it. Now you can see here today where we gapped up. Okay, and I got to check and see if that contract roll. And then what we have here, and look where to go, right into that 21-day. Okay, see how you trade the charts. Now you've got the 21-day on the upside. And we have that 8-day on the downside. Now, if we lose that 8-day, 278, then we're going to be looking at the top of that candle at that 274. It'll be the gap fill. Then we look at the low 265, and then we have that 262 level. Okay, now, if we can get above that 21-day, that 290, well, here's going to be your next target. It's going to be that 296, okay? We come up here, okay, you got a 3 flat. That's your level, all right? And we can come up to the top of there at 310. We'll come up top of that candle at roughly 315. And then we have this price channel sitting at 3.186, which is basically right there. Okay, 3.186 level. Then we can hit that 50-day, You have your 100-day, and then we have your 200-day above that. Okay, so right now this is looking here not too bad, but again, you have to get above that 21-day because I always say once you break that 8-day, the next catch-all up or down is going to be that 21-day, and she's right in it. So you got to be very, very careful. Now again, 45 that could roll right on up here. I'll have the contract roll for you here at the after the OPIC close, so no worries on that. And as I say, your MACD is still trying to work it like a circus monkey. But again, that 21-day stopped the rate cold. So just follow the candles all the way up until we get that retest. But what you're really looking for is that 50-day, that 100-day, and then possibly that 200-day. Now, we look on a weekly chart here. Okay, let's see what we got. See, there's that 152 that can come all the way on down. Okay, so basically what we're just looking for is you have that a 262 level. Okay, so again, then you could follow down to this level. That's going to be you have a 221 level. We come down to the bottom there. You got a 217. Then we come to the bottom of that candle, 158, and then we have a retest of 152. But always take a look at it. You can see how this is descending. See how we have this topping tail candle, and then now we have that series of lower highs and lower lows. That's really never good. Now, when we look at the upside here, we have this 100-day sitting right into it at that 2.87. That's going to be very, very key. And then we want to look at here is that 8-day at 307. And then we have that 335 level, okay? And then we can come all the way up to 383 and then have your retest. But remember, these are rolling over, so that's going to provide very, very strong resistance. So when you look at the daily chart and you say, okay, hey, it broke through that 290 level. Okay, great. Okay, well, then what you're looking at really next here is going to be that 8-day, okay, that 307. That's going to be very, very strong, especially on a weekly chart situation. Then if you can crack that 334, extremely strong resistance. Same way with that 50 SMA sitting at 336 there, okay? So just remember, always put these side by side. Don't just use one chart. Okay, this gives you a good picture. Now, I'll be looking here to buy natural gas going into the end of the year, probably end of November is really when you want to trade it, okay? So that's what we want to look at is we can go into that November here because if the Farmer's Almanac is right or even close to being right, you're going to have a cold winter, okay, a lot of snow, a lot of that. And what are you going to use? It's going to be natural gas, okay? So just be a little patient with the old natty gas. All right, let's look at the XLE, the big oil ETF. Here we have the XLE, your daily and your weekly chart. Now, the reason I trade this here is this is just the basket of everything. I posted this many times. Exxon, Chevron, Mobil, you name it, Shell, everybody is in this. And plus it pays a little, I think about a 4% dividend. So it's really overall not bad. But this is a good way to trade the big oil companies. Now you can see here where we have a really good chart here, bottom left, upper right situation, but we're having a hell of a time getting through this level here, okay? So now what we made this high today of 89.29 level. Okay, that was that high right there of 88.98, and then we had up there, we had 89.44, and then we come all the way here to the top of this candle, 89.43. Okay, so that is really what you have to crack above. Now, if you can get above that, but we have a nice zigzag pattern, then we want to look to the top of this candle. This is your gap. That's 90.34. Now, if we can get into that gap, then you want to look right to the bottom of that candle at 92.98. Okay, so right there, 90.34. Bottom of that candle is 92.98, and that would be your gap fill. And then we come to the top of that candle at that 94.21, and then we have a nice retest there all the way up there at that 94.82, and then we can zip all the way up to 95.93. You crack that, you go into that 100 mark. But right now we'd have this just like a big trading kind of range. But usually when you have this, that builds energy one way or the other kind of a situation. Now here on the downside, you want to watch that 200-day. You have to maintain that 87.48. And we want to look at that 87.01. That's that 8-day. 86.54, and then we have your 86.06, your 21-day, and then we have that right there, that 84.39, and then your retest at 84.10. But let's just see if you can close above this key level. This is what you really want to close above, okay, is that 89.43. You want to close above that if you can. Then we got the gap and the fill situation. Now, this is not to an overbought situation as of yet. You still got plenty of room to run. You're at 65. You can get to 70 plus. This here is looking like it's coming around the green over your red. So this is looking very, very bullish here on the daily chart. Now, we look at the weekly chart. You can see here how nice this ran from 26 all the way to 98. Very, very nice here. But again, that's 2021. But this is a really good, also it's good trading vehicle if you want to trade the big oil. All right. So What you got here, you still have a high, lower high, lower high, lower high situation. Okay, so you really have to get back above that key level, that 94.82 level. Then you can strike on that 97.92, then 90, 98, 97 level. But we have a lot of good support here. Okay, you're looking at that 88.26. Okay, and then you had the 50-day, 87.79. We have that 86.93, your 8-day, and then we have your 84.97, and then we have that nice 200-day at 83.58 level. So again, we got a lot of really good support level here, but remember, we just have this sideways action, and usually when you have this, that builds energy, and one, if it can break up or down, she'll move real quick. Okay, now I say your RSI, plenty of room to run. MACD, green over your head, looking very good. So you really have a really nice, good bullish chart. The key is you have to get above that top of that candle, and once you do that, 89.43, then we can go to that gap in that fill situation. Okay, let's take a look here now at UGA, the gasoline ETF. Here we have UGA. Now, the one thing I want to stress about this, first of all, it doesn't do much volume. Okay, so you're not going to go there 5, 10, 20, 30,000 shares. You got to get into it slowly, and you ease out of this slowly. That's the whole key of gasoline. Now, for me, this trade here is pretty much done. I usually buy that right in January, end of January, kind of a time frame situation, and just kind of let it run up. You know, I'm saying into that Memorial weekend, but we're already at the Labor Day weekend, so I think the gasoline, I don't know about how that's going to work out, okay? But I just wanted to show you. So really now on the downside, you're watching that 63.56. Then we watch that 62.91. We have that 62.75, 61.78, and then we have that 60.93 level, okay? But you can see this chart is really good uptrending. Low, higher, low, higher, low, higher, low, higher, low. Very nice. Bottom left, upper right. Now, you have to get above this 65.71. That's that key. If you get above there, then we hit that 67 level, and then you can head for that 68.15 level, okay? Now, again, when you look at the weekly chart, you have a big target up there all the way at 80.29. But this time of the year, I just don't recommend getting into the gasoline trade right now. I just think unless there's some kind of a catalyst, some kind of a disruption, then yes, you can get into that. But right now, I just say just keep this on your board, like for if you want to, you know, have a gasoline trade. This is an easy way to do it, kind of a situation. All right. Okay, let's look at CRK. All right, here we have Comstock Research. Now, the reason I like this is Jerry Jones from the Dallas Cowboys owns 88% of this, okay? Now, this is a natural gas and an oil play, okay? Now, with Jerry Jones, with that ego, you know, he's not going to let anything fail, and this was a really good trade, but you got to know when to get out, okay? So when we look at this top of the signal here and you see that green roll over that red, that's a crossover, you got to get out. When you see this overbought condition, I can stay overbought, don't get me wrong, but this was a peak, okay? When you see those peaks, that tells you got to get out, okay? So I'm out of this trade, but I just want to show you for down the road that this is actually a good trade or kind of a situation, and it's a good mover, I think, and a good company like for the long term. Now, this is what I was talking about. See, when you get this W pattern, see how you build energy, and when you break out of that, this is what you get. But again, when you have that much strength going all the way on up here, you got to get out. And I didn't get to 31.17. I was out of there. I think it was like 30.25 or something. So I didn't get the top, but I was in from way down here level. Okay, so that's what you always have to look at. This was like a long-termer kind of a situation because I think one day, you know, that's going to pay off, and it paid off big. Okay, so that was really good. Now we had a big down selling all the way on down here. Now it's trying to work its way up. So you came all the way down to 14.65 level, and now we held that 14.09, which is very good. Now on the downside, you definitely want to watch that 46. That's your 8-day, and then that 14.65. That's going to be very key on the downside. If you lose it, then we can come all the way down here to this 14.09 level. Okay, very easily. Now, on the upside, what we're watching is this 21-day. This is going to be very key. That's 16.11. We get above that, we can come on top of here, 17.77. Okay, very nice. Okay, then what we do is we just follow the candles all the way up here. You got 18.29 level. Then we can hit to that 19.60 level. Then you have a 21 level on that 50-day. We have a 21.39 on your 100-day. Then you can just keep working yourself all the way on up, kind of situation. Now, again, this is a big natural gas play. So just always remember that. Now, we got to an oversold condition. Now you can see where it's trying to percolate back up. But watch that 21 day. See this? I always point out that 21 day. Look how strong that is. You have to close back above that. Then you got a nice big target up there of the 200 SMA. Okay. Now, you can see here we got the oversold, but now the green is over your red, so it's trying to work it like a circus monkey. So let's just see. But there's no divergences or anything on there, but just watch that 21 day on the upside. Now, when we look at the weekly, okay, now the weekly, you can see where you peaked right on out. Now what we're doing is we're watching that 1414 level and then that 1350 level. If we start losing that, then you can come down here to the top of that candle. That's 1239, and then we just follow this all the way down until you can get all the way down to into that below $10 level, all right? Now, you can see here how we had this a situation going on here. So we had just you can barely see it, but it is a negative divergence going on. Okay, we have a high, and then we had that spike high, and then it came right on down. But again, anytime you have this spike high like that, same way this, where it just gallops all the way up, you got to get out of the trade. Okay, again, you know what I'm saying? So I am out of this trade, and I'm just waiting to rebuy this back again. If it can get back above that 21 day, then I would be back into this trade to take it back up to that 19 level here going into the window, because it is a really good natural gas play. Okay, that's what I got for you. I'll be back here after your pick close, and we'll take a look here at Bitcoin, and then we'll take a look at that Ethereum ETF, ETHU, and we'll take a look at gold, silver, crude oil, natural gas, and then we'll take a look at the indexes, which are all nice and green. Now remember, today everything is going to be about one thing: NVIDIA, the AI trade, NVIDIA. So always remember, NVIDIA can do something on the upside, it's going to drag the whole market right on up. Now again, if it curls off, well, then we got to look for other kind of a trades. Now remember, it's not the news that matters, it's that reaction to it. Trade what's in front of you, not what you want.